This is a short video to help you understand what credit repair is and how it works. To do that, we will first discuss some basic concepts such as what is a credit report? What information does it contain? Who assembles that information? Where do they get their information from? And finally, how do you repair your credit? First, what is a credit report? A credit report is a collection of information about you, mostly financial information, and works as a financial transaction history that is used by potential lenders, employers, and others to determine your credit worthiness. Your credit report contains a variety of types of information. First, there's personal information, such as your full legal name and aliases you may have used, your current address and previous addresses, your current employment and previous employers, an inquiry history. This means a history of lenders or businesses who have looked at your credit report. A history of financial transactions. This is the meat and potatoes section of your credit report. These are businesses who have extended you credit and have reported that information to the credit bureaus. And finally, a history of public records such as judgments, liens, or in other words, a history of civil court records. All of this information is assembled into your credit report. The companies who assemble or gather this information are called credit reporting agencies or credit bureaus, or as I call them, the axis of evil. Just kidding. As you can see, this is a lot of information to gather, and there are multiple gathering sources. So when a mistake happens, it flows all the way down the information chains and finally ends up on your credit report. Credit repair is a process of attempting to clean up the credit history. With all the information on your credit report, you need to understand that if it doesn't help you, it hurts you. To make it simple to understand, let's use this comparison. Suppose you have a big ugly spot on your shirt and you want to clean it so you can wear it to your job interview. What do? You clean it, right? You put it in the shirt in the washing machine with your other dirty clothes, put in some soap, and after a while you're wearing a spot-free shirt. You get the general idea, right? The shirt is like your credit history and the spot is like that late payment, charge-off, or repossession. However, there are state and federal laws that govern how this information is reported, how it is obtained, how long the information may remain, and what the process is for correcting mistakes and removing unverifiable information. This means the only information that a credit bureau can legally keep on your credit history is information that is verifiable at the source, and which is within the length of time they are allowed to keep it, which is generally 7 years and 10 years for public records. So let's look at the credit reporting process to give you a basic understanding of the flow of information for credit reporting so you can repair the unverified and outdated information. So first, let's look at how the information is gathered and reported. For example, pretend that on your 18th birthday you want to move out of your parents' house and find an apartment to rent. Also pretend for a moment that your name is Robert Smith Jones Jr. and you are the son of Robert Smith Jones Sr. You ask the landlord if you can rent an apartment. He says, "It depends. Can you afford it? How do I know you will pay on time?" So to determine that, he pulls your credit history and reviews it and then decides to approve or to reject your application. But when he pulled your credit report, he gave the credit bureau the information you gave him: your name, your social security number, your date of birth, your current address, and current employer. You applied to the landlord using your nickname, alias Bobby Jones, to shorten up your name, and you used your parents' address as your current address. The result of doing this means that the information is now part of your credit history, even though it's not accurately reporting your full name and your current apartment address. The credit bureaus receive the request from the for the credit report from your landlord and send it to the landlord. But neither the credit bureau nor your landlord knows that your father is Robert Smith Jones Sr., who also uses the alias Bobby Jones. So the credit bureau unknowingly adds Burger King as employment records to the father's credit history and sends your credit report to the landlord who approves your application and lets you move in. Just a big, happy, wonderful story, ain't it? No, that is where the reporting mistake happened. Your father, Robert Smith Jones Sr., might now have your apartment on his credit history. This might not hurt him if you pay rent on time, but it could, especially if it reports his current employment not as a civil engineer, but as working at Burger King. It also can affect his insurance rates and his ability to get approved for a loan. So to repair this mistake, your father contacts the credit bureaus and explains that he and you share the same name as Junior and Senior and use the same alias, Bobby Jones. The credit bureaus then contact the source of the information, who is the landlord. Then he reports back to the credit bureau. Then the credit bureau responds to him, hopefully with correcting the mistake. But that doesn't always happen. A lot of times they just check their own records. They are supposed to check it at the source. The law stipulates that if the credit bureaus cannot verify the information at the source within 30 days, they are to remove it. But sometimes the credit bureaus like to pretend that checking their own records is satisfactory. They will pretend the information the landlord gave them was accurate. It was not. They must re-verify the information with the landlord again, not just check their own records. That is just one example of many types of information sources and how the mistake happened. But credit bureaus also get their information from banks, insurance companies, and employers, so the chances of mistakes creeping in becomes much, much higher. Much like the situation with the landlord and Bobby Jr., mistakes aren't always obvious. Finally, let's talk about the credit reporting agencies. There are three major credit bureaus: Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion. So if you have one error on one credit bureau report, you probably have that same error on the other two reports as well. So now instead of just having one spot on one shirt, you now have three spotted shirts or three credit reports at three different credit bureaus showing the same mistake. So now your workload has tripled, and getting the mistake repaired isn't as easy as just sending a letter. So if you are not a very dedicated and very thorough do-it-yourselfer, hire an affordable credit repair professional to do it for you. You will save yourself a lot of time and heartache by hiring someone who has done it before. Thank you for watching.